Once upon a time, Corinth was a very strong Greek city-state, the remains of which can be found to this day. Some sources refer to the great city of Ephyra as the city founded by Sisyphus, which was later named Corinth. Others say that the witch Medea gave Corinth to Sisyphus, who became its king. One day, Asopos' daughter, Aegina, had been abducted by Zeus, and when Asopos asked if Sisyphus had seen anything, Sisyphus mentioned that he saw Zeus fly over with Aegina. When Zeus heard that, he got really angry that he was betrayed by a mortal. So, the king of the gods sent Death to take Sisyphus' life. However, when Death came to chain Sisyphus, the latter asked Death a demonstration of how the chains work and then deceived Death and chained him instead. The imprisonment of Death meant that he could not come for any human and people stopped dying. The gods in response sent Ares, the god of war, to free Death. This time Death took Sisyphus in his chains and led him to the world of the dead, the underworld, kingdom of Hades. However, before he died, Sisyphus asked his wife, Merope, not to bury him properly by neglecting to put a coin in his mouth. This way he could not pay Charon, the ferryman, to cross the river Styx. The lack of a proper burial disturbed Hades so much, that he sent Sisyphus back to the living. Thus, Sisyphus managed to escape death once more. When the gods finally managed to catch Sisyphus again, they decided that his punishment should last forever. They made him push a rock up a mountain. Every time the rock would reach the top, it would roll down again and Sisyphus would have to start all over again. Long ago, the African kingdom of Ethiopia was ruled by a king named Cepheus and his queen Cassiopeia. The royal couple had a daughter, Andromeda. One day, the queen boasted about her beauty before the mythical inhabitants of the sea, the Nereids. Nereids became very angry because they believed themselves the most beautiful creatures in the world. They complained to their father, the god of the seas, Poseidon, that he should punish her. The mighty lord of the seas sent a huge sea monster to ravage the coast of Ethiopia, including the vain queen. The desperate king asked for the guidance of Apollo in Delphi. The oracle advised that no respite would be found until the king and the queen sacrificed their daughter to the monster. To appease Poseidon, Cepheus and Cassiopeia offered, reluctantly, their beloved daughter to be eaten by the monster. The beautiful Andromeda was chained on a seaside rock and awaited her fate. Meanwhile, the great hero Perseus was returning from having slain Medusa, riding the winged horse, Pegasus, high in the sky. Passing over Ethiopia, he saw Andromeda chained on the rock and immediately fell in love with her. As the monster was approaching to devour Andromeda, the brave Perseus started fighting it. Their fight lasted for a long time. Finally, Perseus used the deadly look of Medusa's severed head, petrifying the huge monster, which fell in the sea and became an island. Perseus freed Andromeda from her chains and took her back to the palace of Cepheus, where they got married. They lived together happily, having 7 sons and 2 daughters. After Andromeda's death, goddess Athena placed her among the constellations in the northern sky, near Perseus and Cassiopeia. Ekko was a wood nymph, cursed by Hera to not be able to speak properly, but rather repeat the last words addressed to her. One day, she was wandering around the mountains, until she saw a handsome young man that no one could resist his charm, Narcissus. The nymph fell in love with the youth, but could not speak to him because of Hera's curse. So, she was following him from the shadows, silently and in love, waiting patiently for the proper moment. At some point, Narcissus felt her presence and asked, "Is anybody here?" To which Ekko replied, "Here." A confusing and repetitive conversation followed until Narcissus called her to come out and make love with him. But, as soon as Ekko stepped out, Narcissus told her that he'd rather die than give himself to a wood nymph. Ekko, heartbroken, took refuge in a cave and lost her appetite for food or water. After a while, poor Ekko started growing skinny from starvation until her body disappeared, leaving only dust and her voice. Nemesis, the goddess of revenge against those who show hubris, decided to punish Narcissus for the treatment of poor Ekko. The goddess made Narcissus fall in love with his own reflection that he saw in a pond near Ekko's cave. Narcissus could not leave his own reflection out of love and starved to death, like Ekko. But, before he dies, Narcissus cried out to his reflection, "Farewell, dear boy." Beloved in vain. Ekko's voice repeated his last words from the cave as Narcissus drew his last breath. To this day, Ekko still repeats the last words or phrases in caves or labyrinths. Hermaphroditis was the son of Hermes and Aphrodite, and he was raised by nymphs in the caves of Mount Phrygia. On his face, one could see the grace and beauty of both of his parents, from whom he took his name. When he was 15 years old, he left the mountain where he grew up to wander into Asia Minor and meet new people. In the woods of Caria, he stopped to rest and drink water from a spring called Salmacis. The homonymous nymph, Salmacis, was captivated by the beauty of the young man and tried to seduce him, but was rejected. When Hermaphroditus felt he was alone, he jumped into the water naked to swim. Salmacis appeared behind a tree and jumped in as well, wrapping her body around that of the young man, forcibly kissing and touching him. While Hermaphroditus was trying to break free from her, the nymph called out to the gods to let them be united forever. The gods decided to grant her wish and blended their two bodies into one, creating a creature of both sexes. Hermaphroditus prayed to his parents, Hermes and Aphrodite, that anyone else who bathed in that spring would share his fate. And the gods granted his wish. Bellerophon was a great hero of Greek mythology. He was a slayer of monsters and as famous as Perseus. His most famous feat was the killing of Chimera, a horrible monster with a goat's body, a serpent's tail and a lion's head that could breathe fire. The great hero was the son of the mortal woman Eurynome by either her husband and king of Corinth Glaucus or the god Poseidon. Bellerophon was accompanied in his adventures by the winged horse, Pegasus. The myth has it that Pegasus was born from the blood of her beheaded mother Medusa, the Gorgon who was tricked and killed by the hero Perseus. A more detailed version of the myth said that he was born when Medusa's blood was mixed with the foam of the sea. The myth says that Pegasus was born as a winged horse because his father, Poseidon, had the shape of a horse when he seduced Medusa. When Pegasus was born, a huge thunder with lightning pierced the sky, and that's how his connection to the forces of the skies was established. So, one day Bellerophon saw the wonderful animal drinking water and decided to tame it. This would not have been possible if Athena had not helped him by giving him a golden bridle. After slaying Chimera, Bellerophon's fame grew and so did his arrogance. He believed that because of his great feat, he deserved to fly to the mountain of the gods, Olympus, and set course with Pegasus. Zeus was angered by his hubris and sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, causing Bellerophon to fall off the flying horse. Pegasus continued to Olympus and became the loyal horse of Zeus. It is said that Athena spared the life of Bellerophon by softening the ground for his fall. However, the once great hero spent his remaining life crippled and lonely, always searching for his beloved winged horse. Another tale from Greek mythology about Zeus is the one with Leda. When the Olympian god saw Leda on the banks of the river Eurotas, felt an overwhelming desire for her. So, he went to Aphrodite and asked for her advice. Aphrodite transformed Zeus into a brilliant swan and herself into an eagle, and she began pursuing the swan in the river valley. The pursuing Zeus swan sought refuge in the arms of Leda, who received him tenderly and warmed him within her. However, 9 months after this incident, she gave birth to 2 eggs. Not one swan came out of each, but 2 pairs of twins. On one hand Polydeuces and the beautiful Helen and on the other Castor and Clytemnestra. Her kids became very famous and lead characters to many great ancient tragedies. If you liked this video and want to see more, please support me with like and subscribe.